Nice.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, guys.
Thanks for taking some time and jumping on with us. We're excited
Yeah,
to hear
I'm
your
very
story a little bit
excited.
more. And I got a chance to connect with you beforehand. You and I kind of chatted a little bit about your story and where you are today. And what I absolutely fell in love with is just the light that you're in today. So when you get to that part of your story, I think people are going to resonate with it because when we go through emotional hardships or we go through just ups and downs and obstacles, we always feel like that's where we're going to be at forever. And I think for you, you're in such a different place today. Um, and I can't wait till we get to that part of the story.
And Gail, I have to say, I love your accent. It's beautiful.
Thank you. So it's French for
Mhm.
the people listening to us.
That is just beautiful.
Thank you.
But you're not in France, right?
No, I'm not. I'm actually in the Midwest, in Missouri, in a little city called St. James. So I've just moved there like a month and a half ago, after 13 years in Miami. So it's
Oh,
a pretty different setup for me now, but I love it. I'm in love with the
13 years in
countryside.
Miami. I thought you
Yeah.
would pick up a Hispanic Latin accent while you were down there, right?
You know, the funny part is I do not even speak Spanish, what is usually, kind of mandatory in Miami, but I made it with my English and my French over there.
so Vic tells me you have an interesting story, and I'd love to kind of hear the background behind that. He gave me little blurbs, but I tend to like to wait until we get you guys on the phone, so that
Okay.
my genuine and in the moment with everybody else listening. So I can't wait to hear all about you.
Okay, so once upon a time in Brittany, in France, a little girl named Gail was born in July 1973. Yeah, so I was born in France and Brittany like 47 years ago now. So it's many chapters I've been writing in my life since. But so I was born with my mom actually, and that's something we share together, Vic. Just after I was born, my mom got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So it was this disease has been part of my childhood and my history all my life, actually. And that's something that we share together. Um, so I was born a happy couple. My parents are a couple that are really in love, and it's been a wonderful relationship they've been having. But this disease has been it's been a hardship for us. And as a little girl, I could see my parents were struggling with it. And by this time, I mean, in the 70s, we didn't have a lot of information about the brain and about multiple sclerosis. That is a neurological disease of the nervous central system. And my parents had no clue what they were to expect. They would just see symptoms adding up, and my mom getting sicker and sicker, and there was no treatment. And so me as a little girl, I saw them struggling, and I was like, oh, wow, what in my mind, my mind as a child, I was like, what could I do to make their life easier? And I kind of make my mission to be a good daughter and to give them what I think they wanted. And that was for me to be a good student, have good grades, do not create any worry. So I grew up this way, and I was lucky enough that I loved school actually. So it was pretty easy for me to give them that and to bring these good grades at home and do whatever I can, so I would not create any worry and add anything on them. Um, that was one part of my story as a child. The other part was like we were not really talking a lot about the disease, and so I was in the same kind of uncertainty and not knowing where we were going. And in my mind, I started having this thought that maybe I would get the same disease as my mom. And I could see she was really struggling with it. My mom was never really able to accept what was happening to her, and she's been fighting it, but never able to find any peace with her disease. And she was very unsatisfied with her life, and it's been a struggle for her. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, if I get sick, I have to handle it in another way. So maybe I could have be better living with it. And so when teenagers grow up, thinking about, I don't know, future careers, having kids, having fun adventures, I grew up prepping myself mentally to have multiple sclerosis. So I would only focus on cerebral activities, because what I understood is like my mom was unable to do a lot of physical activities and she was limited in this way. So I would really be like investing everything in activities like reading, learning, going to the movies, listening to movies. I would do any exercise, any sport, nothing that would have, any physical implication. And I think my parents didn't even notice it. I was just growing up this way and trying to be mentally ready to be sick, which is kind of weird. And at the same time doing whatever I can, so I would make them happy with my grades. So I had a pretty quiet, I would say, childhood and teenager, but still had friends, and I was joyful, and I was not unhappy. It was just a struggle we had to live with. And when came the choice after high school to decide on the college part of my life. I made a kind of a compromise with my parents. They wanting something for me, but that I didn't really want. So I chose something that was still okay for them and attended a business school. And I think from there, I was able to start another chapter. I would say that it would be like to stay with our, your next chapter. The next chapter was starting there with this business school, where I got outside my family environment, meet new people. And I actually met there the man that have shared my life for 22 years. We are not together anymore, but we met there. And I think it was for me like a new beginning, getting a bit away from this idea I would get sick and starting to live a bit more. And so the next chapter moved me to Paris. After I graduated from my business school, I found my first job over there. The things that I kept is I've had this notion of duty. Like I have a duty I have to carry on, and I had to behave a certain way to comply with people's expectation, and I put the bar pretty high for myself. And I went into my career and my professional life with this kind of mindset where I have to be good all the time, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. And years after years, it built up in kind of a huge anxiety for me, because I would start a new job and I would put myself under so much pressure because I thought I should be able to perform very well right away. I would not give me the time to learn and to improve. So I would be in so much stress. And at the same time, in my couple with Cedric, who we are living together at this point, I tended to do the same as what I did with my parents. That was wanted to give him what he needed more than thinking about what I needed myself. And I would be in constant denial, actually, of my own needs. So all of that built up. I would never complain, because what could I complain about? Since my mother has a multiple sclerosis, anything compared to that was like you cannot complain. I mean, there is no really reason to complain. So I would build up all these anxieties, the denials, the emotion I will not express. And in 2005, it hit me, and my body said, stop, you have to stop now. We cannot take it anymore. You're taking too much on yourself. And I went through a very deep depression. So it was a big burnout for 6 months. So it was a very hard time for me. It was followed by kind of a bipolar episode. So I went very down, and then I went very up, but I was very confused about who I was, and I was not in my kind of a normal state of mind. At this point, I broke up with Cedric, and then we found each other again a few months later, and he had made a decision while we were separated to move to Miami. He wanted a new start after we got separated. So when we got back together, he had already planned everything. So this time again, I started a new chapter, and this new chapter was in Miami, but it was his chapter that I was writing with him, but I was not the one that was at the, making the decision. Of course, I was willing to go, and I wanted our relationship to start, but So back, I was in the same kind of position of having a lot of anxiety going there because it was stressful for me. I was leaving my friend, my job, my family to go to somewhere new where I actually I just wanted to be with him, but I had no real purpose into it. So it was a time of adaptations, and I found my balance there, and life happens. And it happens that for all our life together as a couple, we agreed on something like I never had the desire to have a kid, and it didn't have neither. So we were kind of the same page, and happened to this point of our life where I think we grew a bit apart. And actually, I think Cedric grew the desire to be a father when I had no desire of maternity. So we got separated. So it was the end of something and something new to write that was like pretty difficult for me, because at this point I realized that I had never been by myself since I went from my parents to a long relationship, and I had everything to write again, and it was a bit scary. And then things started to, get into place. Like I was finally able to reconnect to myself. The first big thing I did was to make I had only one childhood dream, because apart from getting prepared to be sick, my only childhood dream was to go to Peru. I was watching a cartoon when I was a little girl. It was called the Gold cities. I don't know how to say that in English. It was Les Cités d'Or in French, and it was taking place in the Inca Empire, in the Machu Picchu. And so 3 years ago, it was 3 years ago, like exactly now, because I just saw that on Facebook like 2 days ago. I went to Machu Picchu and I made my childhood dream come true, and it was the first time I was under this impression I was really doing something for myself. And it was kind of the first step in my story. I've been rethinking about all of that, and it was very emotional to say, yeah, you dreamt about it. It was your dream, your only dream, and you made it true. And it was really the opening of something for me. And at the same time, I met a man, David, and with my, this new idea of more reconnecting to myself, and David being kind of more adventurous than I am, is very excited by life and trying a lot of new stuff when I'm kind of, a bit scared. Why? Because I have so much pressure always that I should perform very well at anything I do, that actually I'm very scared of failure. So I will not try something just by fear of not being good enough. And so I realized that I limited myself in a huge way all these years in this regard. But David just like initiated stuff for me, and I went into it. And one big thing we talk about, Vic, was actually diving. So for our Christmas 3 years ago, David offered both of us a certification to get your PADI level 1. That is the first certification where you can go diving 60 feet down. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, okay, that's look interesting. And I mean, I wish I could dive, but can I do that? I was so anxious. We did all the training, and it was a lot of anxiety for me. But at the same time, I wanted to do it. I wanted to prove myself I could do it. And David was very patient with me, to do all the training with me. And I remember the first real dive we took in the ocean. So it was pretty wavy. I had a panic attack. So just before going down, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going. I cannot. I was like, fortunately, we were only 3 persons with a dive master. So they had time to focus on me. So they helped me to relax. And finally, we went down. And I had like this kind of, I don't know, it's a kind of breakthrough, because I've never been so happy than down there. When you are, in the ocean and you are diving and you are surrounded by fish and it's so quiet and you have some corals and all the fish and the colors. And I struggled so much to get to this point, but the result was so amazing that it started to opening some, kind of doors in my mind. Like, actually, you go through it and what you get is so extraordinary that, yeah, it's worth it. It's actually worth it to try. because if I had not tried and just listened to my natural kind of fear of new things, I would just have missed so much. Because the next year it was last year actually, we took the most wonderful trip ever to Indonesia, and I went diving in Raja Ampat. That is the most beautiful diving spot in the world. And we are talking again about it with David today, like it was so amazing and it was new adventures. And last year I took him skydiving. So me, who was this super scared, woman, suddenly for his birthday, I got him the skydiving experience. I was like, if he's doing it, I should go. And I told you, Vic, the day we were supposed to skydive, it was actually on December the 23rd, 2 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I cannot do that. Like I had vertigo. I had nausea. I was so scared, but I went anyway because he was with me. So we went, and same thing. Like I was on this plane and when this time to jump. So I jumped with my, skydive master, and my gosh, had the most amazing time of my life. Like when you get done, it's very hard. Like, it's hard, but the time you just float, like it's like 4 or 5 minutes, you are just there floating and getting progressively closer to Earth. That's the most amazing time I ever had. I was so joyful and I was laughing, and David told me like we could hear us from the ground, because I was the last to get, I don't know how it happened, but I was the last to get on the ground. I mean, we could hear you were laughing, I was so happy. And all these new experiences, I realized that when I was able to face my fears, something extraordinary could get out of it, like amazing experiences. And it's starting kind of adding, I think my mind, starting to open up to a new mindset. I had kind of a fixed mindset that for, and I was like, I started understanding unconsciously the growth mindset. I put really my thumb on it when I studied coaching, but it's another part. So COVID happened this year. I'm fast forwarding, and at this time I was like, okay, that's something hard that is happening to us. I don't want it to be like a negative experience. I want to try to turn that in something positive. And at the same time, one of my friends told me about one of her business partners who was also a coach. And I was like, maybe I was an event and meeting planner at this time. I had a good job. I mean, I was traveling. I liked my clients, but I didn't feel really that I was doing anything meaningful or purposeful. So I was like, maybe that's this time where my business is getting so quiet that I have a lot of time to think. Maybe I should start thinking about what I could do next in my career. That's a good time. It's a time of slowing down. And so I started working with this coach for a few sessions. And I don't know, like there was kind of things opening up in my mind. Like I was like, wow, I realized she showed me without telling me anything, but having me doing some exercises, that the life I had was actually not the life I wanted. I mean, it was just like here on paper, I could look at it. I was like, that's true. What I've been saying for years is not what I'm doing. And I had on the back of my mind, it's been years I had been following life coaches, like podcasts and reading through personal development. And I already had this idea of being a coach, but I never really, worked on it. But it started growing in me this summer. And I was like, that's something that I think I would be interested in. And I was so impressed with the results I got with my own coach for myself. I was like, wow, that's something I think I would like to share with other people. So I started a training online just to see, what it was about. And at this point, always been talking about like growth mindsets, the limiting beliefs. Everything was in my face. Like I realized, like really, it was so clear to me, all the ways I've been limiting myself in my life because of the way I was thinking and just limiting myself just with my thoughts. I was like, wow, you can act on that. You can take your life in your hand and you can change it. You just have to change your mindset. And September 1st, I quit my job. I leave Miami to move to Missouri with David, and I'm starting a new career as a coach from scratch. Like, I have nothing. I'm just starting, and I'm so excited and full of life. And I've never felt so aligned when actually in front of me is everything I've been so scared of before, like uncertainty, not really knowing what's in front of me. But I only see possibilities and opportunities, and that's the way we met each other. Like, I mean, a few years ago, I would never have accepted to be there. I would have been like, should I go? Should I not go? I would have been scared. But now I see everything as growth opportunities, and I believe my destiny is there, and it's just taking me somewhere, and I just trust myself that I will make the right decision and I will find the right person and it will get me where I want. And I want to share that with the world. That's where I want to be a coach. I think this self-empowerment, like, it's so powerful. And yeah, that's really something that I want to share. And I'm just starting my training. I'm thinking about, I don't really know what I'm going to do next, but what I want is people to feel the same energy and the same alignment I'm feeling now, because whatever their way is, it's not going to be the same as mine. But when you can connect to this sense that everything is possible, and to find this purpose of sharing something with the world, it's so much, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, you have me smiling from ear to ear right now, right?
I can feel like the excitement in your voice, like it ramping up as you're getting to this part of your story and talking about like finding that passion. You could just kind of see it like building in you, which is really cool. But it's crazy that like so much of that limitation was imposed by your own brain, like telling yourself to be fearful or be prepared. It's just like our brain is such a powerful thing that it had kept you from doing all these things that you are so passionate about until you kind of like unlocked that and was like, oh, I can do all these things. It's just, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I'm really thankful for David that he helped me in his. I'm not sure he knew what he was doing, but I think I chose also, and we chose each other for a reason. Is like he was helping me opening all these doors inside me because of the way is the boldness he has, and he's more audacious and on all these things. And it just like things in your life get together. You meet the right person at the right time, and you are ready for this new chapter. And I'm so excited that I'm 47 years old, and I feel that that's really the first time in my life I am the one writing my story, just me. Of course, with supported by people. I have the support of, I have amazing friends. My parents are behind me and they are so happy for me. And David is supporting me, but they are supporting me in my story when before I was the one supporting everybody else, like in their own, trying to help them build their life, but it was not me. It was right. And it makes such a difference. And I think I can make people give so much more actually being in this position, because I feel so much better. So I have so much more energy to give and, to be there and to bring joy. And so it's really wonderful. So it's never too late. That's what I was
Never too late, right? That's powerful right there. It's never too late. Absolutely.
Never too early neither, actually. So if you can start earlier and understand that, that's what I want for people, like to connect to this earlier and see how powerful they are inside, and that we are our worst enemy, actually. And when you can make yourself your best friend, and just, be there, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And you and I were chatting earlier on about some of the life coaching training, and I did my life coach certification back on February 29th of this year is when I was certified, and I've been doing a lot of this work for a few years. And so when you talked about becoming a life coach, I was like, I can feel it, because I felt that same way, and I know exactly what you're talking about. But that work is so powerful. And you and I were talking about NLP and just a lot of that personal development side of it. But what I want to do is kind of swap gears for just a second, because you touched on mental health care. There's still a stigma around it. And so I kind of want to touch on that and see what your thoughts are around how people should approach, therapy and just mental health care in general, because I mean, we're all dealing with depression, anxiety, and just the level of uncertainty in the world that we're living in. And you lived that world for quite a while, for
Yes,
many years. And so I just don't know what advice you want to share with listeners around just that mental health care and how important it is.
There are two things I want to share. One is regarding, it's not me directly, but it's regarding when your family has to deal with a disease like multiple sclerosis, but it can be any kind of disease. It's very important to get psychological support. In the 70s in France, it was not even available. They would not even think about bringing psychological support to the patient and to his or her family. It was not there. I mean, now it's part. I think it's part of most treatment, but it's really important because you cannot deal with that by yourself. It's super hard. Like your life, like you get to have a doctor appointment, you get this diagnosis, and your life shifts. Like all the plans you had, everything you had, it's gonna be different now, and it's very important to get the right support so you can deal with it the best way and still have your best life. Or even if you are dealing with this disease, there is still a way. I mean, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different. But if you only look at what you lost, you are losing twice, because, you cannot my mom doesn't get almost any enjoyment out of life because she didn't get this support, and we didn't know, my father and I, how to give that to her. So that's the first thing. The other thing is myself. I realized really I think for years, it's so weird. I was so stressed. I mean, I was working and I was stressed you have no idea. I mean, it was crazy. But I was in total denial of it because I didn't want to be an anxious person. That's so weird because I was stressed. I was sick. I had anemia. I was not eating. I was not doing well. Before the depression, I mean, I already had these symptoms, but I didn't want it. So I was in denial of it. So I was fighting it. So instead of welcoming the anxiety and try to work with it to find a way to control it, actually, I would just push it away. Like I would not look at it. I would fight it. I didn't want that. So I would fight. And so it was unfortunately something I could not win. It was a battle I could not win, not this way, because that's not the right way. And I started only getting better after my depression because I struggled. I fought as much as I could, but at one point, I mean, your brain is like ready to explode. It's a burnout, like really I burned myself from the inside, and it just all stopped. Like this depression was just a way of, and I'm very thankful actually that I went through something that hard, because it was so awful that I never want to get back there again. Like, I had suicidal, the only thing I could think about was, the only way I thought I could get better was to die. I would never have committed suicide because I never tried or anything, but it just to explain you the state of mind. I was feeling so bad that I just thought, only death would, save me from this. I could not see any hope. I was just like so in despair. And then I mean, it went better. I saw a psychiatrist. I was under treatment and I went into a bipolar phase, but it went better. But the only time I was able to improve my condition when after the depression, I was not able to deny it anymore because it's been too hard to deny. So I had to accept it. And from the moment I started accepting I was anxious and even presenting myself this way to the world, like, I'm anxious. I'm trying to deal with it, but you should know that about me because sometimes I get, it changed my life because months after months, I was able to find ways to control it. I will see it coming. And instead of, being in denial, I would like, okay, like something is going on. I have to take actions. I have to do something about it. So my advice is really like, try to, if you are anxious, you're not gonna transform from one day to the other to the most like, super cool person who never get well. No, it's not gonna happen. I mean, I will be anxious all my life. It's just that now I just wake up in the morning, have a little anxiety, and I have ways to put myself in a mood and that it will not just grow. Because the problem is, like, when it grows, it can take so much space that you cannot deal with it anymore. So now I know, I listen to it, I try to understand why I'm feeling this way and put actions in place. So I'm gonna keep it under control. So it's yoga, meditation. It's actually acting on what I'm worried about. So that's really looking what I'm worried about and putting some actions in place to make me feel more comfortable about it. Like for example, like the beginning of the week, I started feeling super exhausted because it's the same for me, listening to your body, listening to all this. And I felt so tired and I was anxious and I was like, something is going on. I have to listen to my body. So I went to bed super early. I cleared my schedule the next day and I started thinking about it. Like, why am I feeling this way? And thinking about it, I realized I was overwhelming myself with all the life coaching things I was dealing with, like learning the coaching, getting into the business side, trying to get information on neuroscience. I was doing so many things, like my mind was just telling me, Gail, you cannot do, you have to pace yourself. And now I'm able to do that. I'm able to lower my expectation and just listen to me and do the things that makes me feel better.
Those are powerful lessons.
That resonates really like profoundly with me. A lot of my life journey in the last couple of years has been learning about having some anxiety and working through it. So I feel like as soon as you started saying that, I'm like, that's very similar, where I would ignore it and kind of push it away, or it's not happening. And once you kind of learn that you have to accept it, it's much easier to work with it instead of against it, and then find a good balance for your life. So I definitely understand that part. I was like, yep. I totally feel you on that.
And I'm starting actually a new training in January. It's mindfulness based stress reduction. And it's so because I really want to, now that I'm really aware, even if I'm nothing anxious like I was before, like really, like I'm super, like I feel really better, but still I have this awareness that I'm going into a new journey with a lot of uncertainty, and I could get back to my anxiety because of all the challenges that's going to arise. I want to be ready, and so I was like, I'm going to take this training because it looks super powerful and efficient, and I want to learn it for myself, and then I want to share it, of course, with other people. And now I'm really proactive. I know I'm going into a journey that could cause me stress because of who I am and the kind of anxiety I've been dealing with. So now I'm setting the ground for success instead of, so that's part also of, being able to really be, how could I say, like this awareness, this clarity, like really know who you are and deal with it, accept, this acceptance of who you are, and that you're going to need some things that other people want, and that you should take every step so you make yourself as successful as possible.
Do you find sharing that you have anxiety or that you're feeling anxious with other people has been difficult for you, or has it been pretty comfortable, like sharing it? And then what has like their feedback been for you?
So there was 2 stages of my life. There was the pre and post depression. So pre-depression, nobody even knew I was anxious. It was all internalized. I mean, I was working, I had jobs, I was in sales. So I was in sales in the information technology business. So high pressure, you have your targets you have to reach. So I was in the worst environment when it comes to stress for me. And I was inside of myself, I was like just dying. But my colleagues, my managers, nobody ever knew. You would have told them I was anxious, they would have said, Gail is joyful, she looks happy. But me inside, I was just dying. So that was the first part. I would not talk about it, maybe to my best friend sometimes. I was just trying to hide because I didn't want it. So that was the first phase, didn't work very well, depression. And post-depression, I think I went in a bit of the opposite. So I would express openly my anxiety. So it helped me a lot. I think I have been a pain for my entourage sometimes because of it, because I think I realized talking about it was helping me to deal myself better with it, but I may have been a bit at the beginning, at least, maybe a bit toxic for the people working with me, because I would express my anxiety. It was helping me, see it, deal with it, move on. But maybe it was a bit too much. Now I think I got it under control. I feel pretty good about it. Like I still have some anxiety sometimes, but it's very mild, and I really think I was able to deal with it in a better way. So I don't share it that much, just because it doesn't happen as often as it used to. But I think talking about it is better than not talking about it. I think maybe also having a psychological support can be like a therapist or somebody to help with this can also be a good thing. I think at least at the beginning to come up with strategies to control it.
And ultimately, you're going to run into situations where anxiety is going to resurface. I mean, you took us through that roller coaster of just being fearful of skydiving, but then that serene environment of being underwater in a reef. And I went snorkeling in the ocean for, I'm not going to say the first time because there was a first time, but I would say this is the first time when we went further out. And that anxiety level, just, it was there immediately. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get underneath? The waves are too much. But I think the important part that you brought up was because you were able to learn from the previous experiences on how to control it. I was able to pull that same type of energy in that moment. And I was like, okay, just catch your breath, breathe. And so I think that's so important that people need to realize that the anxiety is going to be there.
Yes.
You're going to have anxiety in so many different situations. You're going to walk into a job interview. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to meet a new person and you're on a date for the first time with them. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to go snorkeling or diving. One day I will dive. I will.
Yes.
You make it sound so fun.
You come with me. Dive with me. It's so fun. It's beautiful.
You got that, Chelsea? We got to get our certification too.
I don't know. Oh, but I'll definitely watch you guys.
Right. But I think it's so important for people to realize that, like, the anxiety is going to keep coming up. How does everyone deal with it in that moment? Everyone's going to be different. Some people with breathing techniques. And like I said, when you were doing them, I found myself, for other people, it's acting upon what is creating that anxiety. And I think it's just such an important lesson to walk away from. And like I said, you took us on a roller coaster there, right? So as you were telling your story, I felt those low moments of your childhood and the struggle that you had. And then as you took us through your marriage, you were happy the first time you got married and everything was going good. And then you kind of felt that piece of divorce, and then things happened again as you started new and fresh. But at the end of the day, you filled your cup. And I think that's another important lesson for anyone to take away is how do we fill our own cup? Because if we're not happy, if we're not content with where we want to be in our life, if we're not thriving, and the fact of the matter is you are shining right now. Like there's a light around you, you're happy, and you were attracting the right people in your life.
Yes.
And that's probably why David was attracted to you in that moment, because you guys had the same energy, the same vibe going on. But I'm a true believer.
I didn't know it at this point, but it was unconscious, but it was there, the will to shine. There is another thing just I want to add, Vic, about the fear and the anxiety, because the fear to do something new I think is there for a lot of us. Like there is this, it can be mild, it can be big. The difference for me now when I get to do something new is really also my mindset. Because before I would go like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it because I've always done things I was anxious about, because I am brave enough to overcome my fear and do it anyway. But I was going there like, oh my gosh, I wish did not have to do it. I'm gonna do it, but it's hard. Now my approach is very different. I know I'm still have the fear, but I'm like, I want to do it. I'm ready to pass this. Like, it can be a few minutes. Sometimes it's a few days. Sometimes it's a few hours, whatever. It can be months because it's a long process you are going through, but I'm willing to do it because I'm excited about what is next. And it's very new to me because I realize that because of what me and my parents have been through, we didn't have a lot of trust in the future. I've never been, when I told you my only dream was my trip to Peru, I've never been able to make any project in my life. I was not even able to see myself with kids. That is the biggest project you can have. It was not possible for me. I would stop myself from making any plan because I learned very early that you can have plans. They can just, a disease, show up. And my mom was so disappointed all her life. I took that on myself. And my whole understanding was, do not dream. Do not have plans. Just live your life day after day. But I would not go further than planning my summer vacation. That's the only thing I ever plan. Now my mindset is so different. I have projects. David and I, we want to have this. I was thinking about you and your experience in your van with your wife. I listened to this podcast. You know what we want to do? We want to build our own, and we want to go from Vancouver to Ushuaia. We want to take 6 months, whatever it takes. I don't know. We want to go all the coast of North to South America and do all of that. We want to do that within 10 years. We don't know when, but I have this kind of project. I want to have my practice. I want to have clients. I want to be part in, conferences, be a speaker, share my experience, whatever. I can do all of that I could have not, and it's so new, like it's like now, like it's been a few months, but it's there. And I know it's there to stay because I'm able now to look at the future with hope and just be able to say, yeah, there are exciting stuff ahead of me. There would be hard stuff too. I know that, but there also been a lot of excitement. And I think having that in mind, and there is a young woman, I think she's Colombian, she's South American. And her name is Michelle Poller, and she's all about fear. I think she has a podcast called Hello Fear or something like that. And she was telling, we are told all our life when you think about something hard to think, when you want to motivate someone, you're going to tell this person what's the worst that can happen, trying to, de-escalate the thing. And the way she's looking at it, and I love it, is like looking at this thing and say, what's the best that can happen? It puts your mind in such a different place because what you see at this moment is all these amazing things that could happen with this new experience instead of all the things that could go wrong. And I think it puts you in such a stronger mindset. Like and that's what I try to do now, like to see all, like talking with you right now, guys. I was anxious before we started. I was like, oh my gosh. That's the first time I'm doing that, but I was like, I like it. I mean, I really like what you are doing. I think it's amazing. And I like all the idea of it, like the next chapter, sharing experiences, the stories, the relationship we have with Chelsea. You have a very good communication. Podcasts are fun. No, it's really, no, really, guys, I really like, I was excited to be part of it, but at the same time I was like, is it interesting what I have to, we all have this kind of doubt. I was like, is it really interesting what I have to share? Can it help?
Yes.
It's very, you put yourself in a place of being vulnerable when you just share your life, and because, it's just my life. I mean, it's nothing. But I did it because I was excited about the connections, getting to be, with you again at this conversation. And I was in a good place to do it, even with the anxiety.
Absolutely. I think that's so important too, is that there's so many people are afraid to share their story, and they're afraid because no one's going to connect with you. And the fact of the matter is there's so many people out there that find our stories interesting because they can connect with a piece of your story. And so we're beyond grateful to have you on and be able to share that story.
I love the, what's the best that could happen? Because we usually think what's the worst that can happen, but that totally changes mindset 100%. So I'm going to have to remember that the next time I'm apprehensive about trying something new. And instead of thinking about what the worst is, think like, what's the best that can happen? I love that.
In our society to prepare for the worst. I mean, it's really something like there are a lot of differences between the American education and France. I see all of that, but this is kind of, this, and I think it's so powerful. Like Vic, you've been going through your life coaching. It's all this visualization in the future of positive things that can happen, and it puts you in such a different place. And you can build with that, like with energy, like positive energy, not like kind of.
Absolutely, and to Chelsea's point, I mean, at work we had to do an action plan, right? And so as you're going through that action plan, the very beginning of it is like, what do you want? What does success look like, right? What do you want the outcomes to be? Those are so easy to write down. You're just like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is all the great stuff I want to come out, and then the action plans go on to say. What obstacles are going to get in your way and how are you going to prevent those? And for me, because a lot of the training I've done, those 2 boxes were the hardest boxes to fill in because I didn't want to be in that mindset of something's going to go wrong. Yes, I know something's going to go wrong. Something's always going to go wrong. But once you start putting all that extra energy into creating a list of things that are going to go wrong and how are you going to correct them, you start shifting the energy to those things are going to go wrong a lot more frequently than if you spent more time in the success realm. And so I think, that was just a great reminder of our mindset is so powerful when it comes to what you want to envision and what you want to get out of it. And we have to say thank you to whoever your life coach was and did the work with you, because they unlocked this high performer in you. There's like a whole new level of performance that's coming out just because you're just rattling out everything you want to experience in 2021. And I can't wait to see all of that come to life too.
Me too. I'm excited by my own future now. It's new to me.
And I can't wait to hear all the stories about the van life too.
Yeah.
I mean,
so this is more in like a few years from now, but it's in the plans and we want to do it. And but my next little adventure would be going camping in the cold with David. So he's a huge outdoorsy person, and I've never really been camping. I've been camping with him a bit in summertime, but I come from Miami, so 13 years living with an average of 80 degrees. Cold is not my thing, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go camping with you in the cold, in the tent, and so that's my own next little adventure and challenge.
Yeah, we understand that part. Being in Southern California, in the 70s most of the year, so we don't really know what cold is. So I understand the apprehension, but what's the best that could happen?
Yeah, the best.
So
I hope snow, like a snowman to do in the morning, and all the
because your energy is it's so infectious right now. I love it. It's making me smile from ear to ear. But for someone who's listening that is probably making that transition right now where they want to unlock something within them, or they want to pursue an experience on their experience list, or they want to pursue what they thought was their ultimate dream. I want you to take us back really quick to that trip to Machu Picchu. The place looks beautiful in all the pictures I've seen. But take us back to what was the feeling like the day that you got to go visit and experience that, and you felt that sense of pride and accomplishment within yourself. Like, walk us through what that felt like.
So it started like, it's always been my dream. And I started thinking about it when I was like in my late 30s and I was still married at this time. I'm thinking about it, but my ex-husband didn't really, it was not his dream. So he would not really, follow with it. And when we got separated, it was like, that's the thing that came to my mind. That's something I owe to myself. That's my only dream. I'm going to make it. So I planned all my trip. I went alone. So I was by myself, but I booked it through an agency. So I had a guide at some point, but it was very like, I had the security of an agency that was backing me up, but most of the time I would be alone actually. But I went to Machu Picchu with a guide. And we went early, just at the opening. It was a low season there, so it was not too packed. So we got there, and And so I was with him, and there was nobody there. So I had this amazing thing, like not only was I on the Machu Picchu, but when I went, you see the site from above. Actually, you are on the top of a hill, and you see the Machu Picchu, and there was nobody there. It was all empty. It was like, wow. I cried to start with because I could not believe that I was there. Like it was something. When I was watching this cartoon, I was like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. It was over several years. And never in my life would have thought I would have made it to the Machu Picchu. And it was such an overwhelm of, I was proud that I made it happen. And I was so moved actually, and it was moving, and I was joyful, and I just sat there and looked at it, and I was like, wow, you did it. And it was like, I don't know, it's really something else. Like that was really for me the first time I was accomplishing something that was my own dream, and it felt, yeah, it was an amazing experience. Now I try to, now my mind is like, I want new dreams. I want, so I can make them happen. And I feel the same, accomplishment. And, but that's particularly because it was only like 3 years ago. So I was 44 years old. So that's, it took me a long time I did other stuff. I had I don't want to seem that my life was not happy before. I've always been a happy and energetic person. I have this joy about me. My mom always told me as a kid, I have this kind of optimism. It's just that I would not take it to the project side, the dream side, and I would keep it just in the moment. And having projects, make them happen, plan them, and make them happen, it brings you so much this feeling of accomplishment, like, and the satisfaction of you owe it to yourself. You've been supported. Of course, there is a support of other people all the time. We do nothing only by ourselves, but you are the energy who made it happen. You laid it this way, and it's really fulfilling. It's something you can get addicted to that.
Traveling and exploring, yes, absolutely, get addicted to that. Yep. So, what advice do you have for someone who is maybe tired of living the safe life, but yet they have limiting beliefs that they can't get to that next stage of their life? Like, what advice would you give them?
The thing is, like, there is a lot of personal work you have to do. And so it takes really this motivation, because it's not just going to happen like that. You're going to have to get aware of who you are, what you want, and then you're going to have to take actions. And it can take a little while to change your habits, your mind. So the thing I think to start with is really wondering this thing about the big why. Why do you want what you want? And it's just like, it's just not like, what do I want? I don't know, whatever. You have to go deep and dig again to really understand what is this thing you really want and why, in a very deep way. Like, if you have this big motivation, even if you have obstacles, you are struggling, it's hard, you will think about this thing you have in your mind that is this big reason you are doing it. It's going to keep you on track. If you don't have this real big motivation, it's not going to happen. It works for anything. I used to smoke. I was a smoker. I was anxious as I was dealing with my anxiety, smoking cigarettes, and I would smoke, and it took me years to stop. I only stopped when I had a real reason to stop, like, because of my health, because I wanted to live, many years still. I needed this big why, not only listening to other people or doing stuff I was told to do. And it works for everything. You really have to get inside of yourself and understand your deep motivation. I think I may be biased because I've been coached and I want to become a coach, but I think being coached helps a lot to find the clarity, because the coach is getting you through a process of questioning that is helping you actually to get answers. It's not giving you the answers. That's what I love about it. It's really empowering, because you are the one with your answers. Nobody has the answers for you. You have all the resources and you have all the answers. But the coaching is a future and solution focused. So it's taking you to a positive place where you can find, this through a process, you can connect to yourself and find this real reason why you want to change. A lot of people will never change because it takes, you have to have the will to change, and it takes effort. It's not.
Absolutely, it's not going to happen overnight.
Definitely. Yeah, it's not like you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be a different person. On my side, I think it took it's just it's the end and the starting point of something new, but it didn't just happen like that. I mean, I've been interested in personal development for years. I've always been fascinated by the way the brain works. It's just that at one point I had because of all the experience, I think it's also because of the experience, the new experience I had, finally I understood. I put, the concept were not only concept, I had been through them, like doing the diving, doing the skydiving, going to Machu Picchu. These experiences that I had, I think they open the way in my brain to understand really what it means to have a growth mindset, what were my limiting beliefs and how I could change them, because I already had experiences I could refer to where I have been through it and I saw the other side. And I think it comes like that by steps. I mean, you have to do something, and this experience is going to take you to a new level. And then you're gonna, it's just gonna happen.
Definitely. And surrounding yourself with the right people. I know that the next step for this project is starting an online community, because I think it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded people, and that energy that you and I were talking about, and the energy that that you're just giving off right now. I think that's so important, in terms of moving to that next phase of your life.
There can be choices you have to do. That, for example, me on my side, it's been many years. I'm not watching the news too much. I'm informed, but just the right level from my own perspective, because I think it's also negative and it just dragging me down for nothing. Like, anyway, I'm not gonna. I mean, the way I can change it is not just being depressed, watching the news. So I'm protecting myself this way. And also, as you say, like being surrounded by people that have, a positive attitude towards life is also a big part of helping you to move on and move forward and have projects. And so, yeah, it's very important to keep, this positive attitude. Even I complain also sometimes, but I cannot help it. I'm French, so French complain a lot. It's in my genes. But not too long. That's the only thing.
Yeah, a little and there's okay. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, it's okay. And you cannot be in these all positive things. I think life is 50-50. It's not like I don't live in a pink, beautiful, shiny dream of everything is happy and beautiful. I think life is 50-50. I mean, it works for everything. And but it's just that let's say the most negative side of it is not dragging me down. I'm looking at the positive one, and I try to learn from any struggle, any bad experience, to be better and to live better. And I think that's the way you cope with everything negative that makes a difference. But the negative is going to happen anyway. You cannot turn it into, a disease is a disease. If you are going through, somebody close to you dies or anything, you're not going to make it positive. You're going to live through it and you're going to, but I think that's also something else, not to be to be kind of realistic about life. It's another stuff. I think it grounds you more and you can appreciate more the good when you are also able to see the bad. I mean, it's like when we are talking about anxiety, it just is there, you welcome it, you control it, but you do not deny it, because that would be the worst. It's the same, I think, for the more darkest experience, we have sometimes, or darker part of our life, you deal with it, but you do not let it drag you down. You just try to learn something. That's my way, trying to learn something out of it, to turn it in a positive this way, just learning something.
I'm really appreciative that you shared your story with us and hopefully inspired some more people to get outside our comfort zones and not live in fear. And I'm definitely going to retain that mantra of what's the best that can happen. So I really appreciate you giving us that gift too. I will be using that in my everyday life as well. So
thank you. It's a good one.
Yeah, we absolutely loved having you as our guest today.
I was super happy to be with you guys. It's a pleasure.
I continue to be inspired each time I get to talk to you. So, of course, you're going to be part of every single part of what we do. What I love most, and I know Chelsea can resonate with that, is getting to meet strangers like you, but yet we feel like we've known you forever. But thank you for being transparent. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your story. And more importantly, we're excited to see what the future holds for you, what big dreams you have, what else is on your experience list, and share all of that with us, please. Send pictures.
I will. And I want collaboration in my business life. I strongly believe we are stronger together, and it's part of the way I see my coaching practice is also building like some partnerships, and I think it's so much stronger when and more powerful when you work with other people, and we are more creative, and I think it's kind of exponential. Like you put 3 people together, you get much more than by 3. It gets like it's wow. It's the best, I think, to work like that. And sometimes you have to do your things your own way, but it's really important to collaborate.
Definitely. Every time we get to chat with people, it unlocks different things every single time. And I know Chelsea and I, we end the calls and we still chat, and we're just like, wow, that was so good, or this is what I learned, and this is what I wrote down. So we learn so much from each and every single person that comes on here. And I think today we're walking away with an appreciation for our self-care, our mental health care. We're walking away with some great life lessons. We're walking away with the desire to maybe want to go diving, to go to Indonesia.
And skydiving. So both.
Skydiving, right? There's so much. So it sounds like you've done so much in just the last few years. And I hope that inspires people to want to go out and start living, an inspired life. I think that's really what life is about, right? Connections and moments and just the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And we will let you get on with the evening.
Great to spend this time with you. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. And yeah, I don't like goodbye. So
I know.
And the call.
Well,
until next time.
Have a good evening, guys.
You as well.
Bye.